Hello comrades, Comrade Connor here. In this video I shall be summarising what is Marxism. Well, for newcomers to leftist politics or just newcomers to Marxism specifically. Marxism, named after Karl Marx, who, alongside Friedrich Engels, founded this school of thought. Such school of thought could be said to have several components, such as the materialist dialectic, or dialectical materialism and historical materialism, but putting such technical terms for later videos, Marxism has several main features such as philosophical materialism. This means that Marxism focuses on the material objective world that is measurable, not on individual subjective experience. Marxists believe that people react to their material conditions, such as, for example, a lack of food. This may cause people to hunt and scavenge for food, attempting to ration out their food or competing with each other in a more violent manner. However, during an abundance of food, people don't mind waiting in line to buy food at a supermarket, or simply ordering online and waiting for delivery in a few days. They will have feasts and buffets, and probably won't mind much food going to waste. Another example would be that a person did not simply wake up one day saying that he will stick wheels onto a platform, attach an engine to it and call it a car. A person more likely would have seen something like the horse-drawn cart, the steam engine, and then noticed that both could be effectively joined to create a more useful method of transport that would eventually become what we would know as the car. Another one of the main elements of Marxism would be that of class society. To quote page 2 of the Communist Manifesto, "The history of all hitherto existing society is the history of class struggles." For example, feudalism had peasants and lords, with the peasants being simple farmers paying taxes to lords for protection, with the lords living off the peasants' produce. If the peasants no longer wished the produce and keep the surplus for themselves, the lords would send knights to make sure the peasants keep in line. Whilst capitalism has the proletariat, also known as the working class, who survive by selling themselves as a worker to the capitalists to survive off a wage, whilst the capitalists, also known as the bourgeoisie, are those who own the means of production, that is, the workplaces, such as factories. The capitalists live off the profit produced by selling what the workers make. Thus, we can see that in every society, such as our current one, has a dominant oppressor class that lives with power and in luxury, and an oppressed dominated class that lives to support the dominant class. The other main feature of Marxism is the successive modes of production. Marxists divide history into different modes of production, that is, ways of dividing and organizing the ownership of property, as well as jobs and duties in societies to allow them to produce and simply exist. The modern example is capitalism, where the capitalists privately own the means of production, so factories, stores and services, with the proletariat owning no means of production and thus, to survive, need to work for the capitalists, so they can survive on a wage, whilst the capitalists can grow and thrive off the profit. Generally, history is divided by Marxists from earliest to latest in prehistorical and pre-class society, and then 3 historical stages of historical and class society. The prehistorical societies could be described as primitive communism, which would be nomadic hunter-gathering societies. Essentially think of stereotypical cavemen, as well as tribal society, so agrarian tribes led by chiefs and shaman. In this case, you could think more of Celts or how the Native Americans were. Then society begins, class society that is, with slave society. So think Rome and ancient Greece, where the slave owners ruled society and labour was primarily carried out by the slaves, or even more specifically, examples like Sparta, where the Helot slaves massively outnumbered the Spartan citizens several times over. This was followed by feudalism, so think back to that image of technically free peasants farming for the lords and then ending at the modern day capitalism that has already been outlined in this video. Each system is replaced by the next via a violent revolution. This is when the system has begun to hold back progress, and where the oppressed class has decided then to rise up and violently overthrow the dominant class, to then reorganize the means of production and society in general according to their own morals and how they see things. Now, according to Marxism, the next stage after capitalism would be socialism, where the means of production are socially owned and democratically run by the workers. It is during this stage where the remaining classes through class struggle would be over time turned into workers, so proletarianized, until there's only the one class, and thus classes essentially cease to exist. Finally, there would then be communism, where this would be the final stage, and class and the state would no longer exist. The means of production would be so highly advanced and automated to the point where a superabundance has been reached, and money thus has ceased to exist as well, becoming useless. The means of production would be commonly owned by everyone in this society. Well, thank you for listening. There will be some relevant links to introductory reading on Marxism below in the description, and if you've enjoyed this video or think you've learned something interesting, then please subscribe. Thank you.